We just had the Esports World Cup qualifiers. We now know the next 3 teams that have made it to the $1 million LAN in August. I'm going to break down the whole tournament for you in this video. Let's get straight into it. So we now know 6 of the 12 teams that will be representing Europe at the $1 million Reload LAN. Don't worry if your favourite team hasn't made it yet, there are still 2 more chances to qualify later in the year. But for now, let's talk about yesterday's leaderboard. In first place, we had a team that were already qualified before the games were even played, and that is of course Shxrk T3eny. They made it to the LAN by winning the last qualifier, and they have gone back to back. Winning both qualifiers is an insane achievement. They have been so good lately. Shxrk T3eny are 100% the team to beat in Reloads right now. I have to say, I definitely underestimated how much respect they would have with the rest of the lobby. They really conditioned all the areas around them because they were already qualified, because they were playing without fear. They could just fight anyone who was landing remotely close to them. So if you were in any of the spots around Dirty Docks, then you were in a very vulnerable position. It was very dangerous to be there, and the duo that definitely struggled with that was Akira and Karama. Now these guys were one of my picks to qualify. It really didn't pan out like that at all, though. They only managed the 13th place, and a lot of that was because they just kept getting fought by Shxrk T3eny in multiple games. Literally within a minute of game 1, they were getting chased across the map by Shxrk T3eny, and it was at that point that the penny dropped for me. I realised that if you're landing anywhere near Dirty Docks, you are going to struggle. And listen, this duo were causing absolute carnage. Shxrk solo landed on Shxrk and Bevies in game 2 to get a kill. They were absolutely milking Wavy and Josh for the entirety of game 3. They were fighting so much, but that doesn't mean they weren't playing calm. It doesn't mean they weren't composed, because they managed to win 3 seconds and a 3rd place in order to secure that win overall. They also employed a very interesting strategy. They definitely weren't the only team to do this, but they were high padding in a lot of the moving zones, so they were able to sit up in the air and bypass a few rotations. We saw this repeated on NA Central too. It was certainly a good strategy that did work out for them, even though they did die out of the air once doing it. But listen, a win secured for Shxrk T3eny. That is of course back-to-back wins, and they are looking great right now. The question we have to ask ourselves now is, are they the favourites for the LAN event? Let me know in the comments below your takes on that. Anyway, let's get into the team that came second, which is of course one of our new LAN qualifiers, Japko and Panzer. Now this duo started the tournament in style. They had an average placement of 2.5 in the first 4 games. Indeed, they did end up with the highest average placement across all the games, but they looked so good. They'd opened a 63-point gap after 3 games. It never really looked like their qualification spot was in doubt, if I'm being honest. They played an excellent strategy, landing over at Steamy Stacks. They did play in the Storm a lot, but they managed to make it work for them. These guys are a top quality duo, and one that I think will represent EU well on the world stage, so big credit to them. In 3rd place, we had the team that I predicted to qualify. I'll go over my full predictions later, but spoiler, some of them were not quite right. Anyway, Vico Malibuca did qualify for the LAN. They played excellently throughout the whole tournament, really putting the disappointment of the previous qualifier behind them, where they were only able to finish 14th. Gone are those days. They are now in excellent form. Obviously, they've come second in the past 2 divisional cups, looking brilliant. I also want to give a special shout out to Vico, because this weekend he has been on a different level. He had the top damage and the top eliminations in this tournament. What's more, in the divisional cup on Saturday, he also had the top damage and the top eliminations. He is just on fire right now. Such an explosive player, a proper talisman, and he is just such an effective player. Just like Shxrk T3eny and just like Swizzy and Pixie, who I'll talk about later, these guys were playing height quite aggressively. It will definitely be interesting once we get to the LAN in August, as there will be a lot of aggressive height teams in that lobby. In 4th place, we of course had another team that are already qualified, and that was Tjino and PabloWingu. They secured their LAN spot in qualifier 1, coming 3rd in that tournament, but they looked very good yesterday. I do just think for this duo that the next step is converting those 3rd and 4ths into tournament wins. They are consistently doing really well at the moment. They are a great duo, one of the best on the whole region. It may only be a matter of time before they do start getting consistent wins. Credit to PabloWingu too, who was 3rd for damage and 3rd for eliminations. If you watched the last qualifier, you'll remember that he made a ton of solo clutches. Looked brilliant in that finals. There were a couple of solo clutches yesterday too. Clearly, Pablo is a player that is made for Reload. He looks really comfortable in the mode. Now, the final team that qualified for the Esports World Cup LAN in August is one that not many people would have expected, and that is Kaan and FadedPigeon. Now between these guys, they only have one Grand Finals qualification. FadedPigeon made Grands in Chapter 6 Season 2 with Moneymaker and Fnayan, whilst Kaan has never made an FNCS Grand Finals. But they didn't let that stop them from putting in a remarkable performance, and what is even more impressive is that their drop spot was pretty weak in all honesty. They landed at the left side of booming base. They split that in all 8 games with Kashi and Firen. I actually want to give some credit to Kashi and Firen, by the way, for not griefing them at all, because it would have been very easy to do that. If you take a look at the 2D replay now, you can see that Kaan lands at the top of booming base, whilst Faded lands very split right near the bottom. So it would have been super easy for Kashi and Firen to pinch Kaan. Credit to them for not doing that. But listen, this proves that no matter the drop spot, no matter the situation, you always have a chance of qualifying. And I think this is especially true in Reload, because most of the teams make the end game, because the placement points only come right at the end, and because of the respawn mechanic. Drop spots aren't as important. All that matters is getting to the end with a bit of loot in a good situation and then having a good crack at the end game. With that being said though, Kaan and FadedPigeon were very consistent with their mid games. They played so well during this tournament. It is nice to see a surprise pick like this make the LAN. It does mean that there is one less spot for one of the big teams on EU, so they will have to be fighting extra hard to make the LAN in those last 2 qualifiers that are later in the year. Now we did have a few teams that were very close to qualifying but just couldn't quite make it. In 6th place we had Howley and Lucia, and they were very much a Jekyll and Hyde team throughout this tournament. In the first 4 games their average placement was 13.75. In the last 4 games their average placement was 4th. They just turned it on halfway through the tournament, just started looking like a completely different team. They were playing height, they looked confident, and honestly all it would have taken is one of those first 4 games to be slightly better and they could have made the LAN. They were only 12 points off Kaan and FadedPigeon, so it was not a big gap. If I'm honest, I do worry that they might have missed their big opportunity to make it though. Yes, there are 2 more qualifiers, but it is very difficult to make it to these finals with only 20 teams being in it. We saw with Twek and Mydro in the last qualifier, they were first right at the beginning. Unfortunately they fell off a little bit, weren't able to finish in those qualifier spots, and they didn't qualify for these finals at all. So it is very difficult to get back here. Once you're in the finals, you really have to make it count. Will Howley and Lucia return in the next qualifier? Only time will tell. In 7th place we had another duo that started poorly but then brought it back towards the end of the tournament, and that was of course Pixie and Swizzy. Now after 5 games these guys were in 18th place out of 20 teams, which is just terrible based on their quality. Yes, I know they had Glubsheet and Prax landing on them at Stilt Town, but even so 18th place is really poor. But listen, they did bring it back in style. They won back-to-back games in games 6 and 7 in order to put themselves into 4th place. Unfortunately the last game just didn't quite go how they wanted and they weren't able to secure that qualifier spot. Had they had a better final game, they could have genuinely made it and it would have been an excellent comeback. But despite that, I want to give them huge credit. Yes, the outcome wasn't what they wanted, but the resilience, the mental strength to come back from being in 18th place to go all the way into the qualifier spots and then narrowly miss out at the end, big credit to them. So let's look down at the rest of the leaderboard. In 8th place we had Shxrk and Bevies, a team that at one point did look like they could qualify. In 9th place we had Truly and Zynox, a very underrated team. They came 6th in the week 3 divisional cup, not quite able to make it into those higher positions in this tournament though. And in 10th place we had Darm and Demus. I really don't know how to feel about this team right now. It's not like they're doing badly, they're qualifying for all the finals and they're not placing low. They're just not quite able to break into those top 3s, into those top 5s. They're just not hitting the heights they were managing during Chapter 6. We did have some big duos that did really struggle, one of them of course being Akira and Karama. As I mentioned earlier, their proximity to Shxrk and T3eny on the map consigned them to a low placement. They just couldn't quite get going. It felt like they were always getting chased, they were always getting fought, they were constantly on the back foot. It was kind of just a nightmare tournament for them. It just didn't play out how they wanted. They'll be looking to bounce back in the next 2 qualifiers. The big team though, the big team that really underperformed, that I can't even explain honestly, is Chap and Flixie. They came in 16th place from uncontested left side of Slurpee, which is just poor. It's so poor. I mean, that is one of the best spots on the map in Reload. You've got central positioning, you've got so much loot. It's not like they were even being interfered with over there, and they came 16th. They started the tournament well, they won the first game, and after that it all just went downhill. And listen, these guys have to be delivering so much more than that. We know their quality. I mean, this is Chap and Flixie we're talking about here. They won the PlayStation Reload Cup. They've shown that they're good at the mode. They've won a bunch of games in Victory Cups. I mean, they've been fine at Reload in the past. We know that they have what it takes to be good at Reload. And yes, of course, teams have off days, but with uncontested Slurpee left side, you have to be doing better than 16th. They were struggling in the mid-game fights. They were constantly second best whenever they were in these encounters. It just really felt like it wasn't going to work out for them. Outside of their win, they only managed one game inside the top 10, and that was game 8 when they came 9th. Listen, I don't think they should be splitting. I don't think we need to be that drastic, but questions need to be asked about this performance, because based on the quality of their duo, based on their past performances, and based on their ability in Reload, I expected so much more from them. I genuinely did believe they could qualify for the LAN, and it really didn't play out like that at all. So here's a list of all the teams that are qualified for the Esports World Cup LAN. We will have 6 more European duos that will be joining them later in the year, and here are how my predictions went. As you can see, I did not put Shxrk T3eny in first. In my predictions video, I had them there. I dropped them to third after it looked like Cringe and Volko were going to take some of their loot at Dirty Docks, but that didn't end up happening at all. Obviously, Shxrk and T3eny conditioned all the teams around them so well, and they were able to cruise to that first place, so big credit to them. I predicted Vico Malibuca correctly, but Chap and Flixie didn't qualify, nor did Akira and Karama. In hindsight, it feels so obvious that Japko and Panzer made it, but not many people did predict them, which is interesting. Anyway, this was a super fun tournament to watch. Don't get me wrong, Battle Royale should still be the main mode in Fortnite, and the fact that Reload is so good is because it's a change from Battle Royale. If we just had Reload tournaments all the time, then we would probably get bored of it. But the balance right now is really good. I'm massively enjoying both modes, and yesterday was a win for the game. Okay, so with the Reload Elite Series out of the way, let's talk about some new duos. We do have the news that Seti and Rax are officially back together. Now, I've spoken about this a few times. I think this is the best move for both players. Rax has been struggling to find a new teammate since he split with Queasy. It didn't work out with Pix, it didn't work out with Akira, and now him playing with Seti, a duo that looked great before. I mean, it just makes so much sense. It did kind of feel like Seti persisted playing with Dinas because he wanted to keep his pride after being dropped by Rax previously, but listen, I do think he's done the right thing getting back together with him. This will be a strong duo. Now, someone that will be unhappy with this news is MrSavage, as he was hoping to play with Rax. I did speak in my last video about how I wasn't sure this was going to happen, because I do just feel like Rax is a tier above Savage at this moment in time, but that doesn't mean Savage can't get a good duo option. Let's talk about some of his potential teammates. Now, these are just some potential names that I've written up. We don't have any news on who he's going to be playing with. One option could be Vidil, as he has officially split with Noah Riley. Listen, Savage and Vidil have played together in the past. Could it work as a duo? Potentially. I'm not 100% sure that either of them would be grinding 100%, but honestly, that dynamic may work. Obviously, Noah is now an option too. There's also a couple of Polish players that could work with Savage. You've got Mixon. They just don't look like the most exciting team. They didn't qualify for the Reload heats in either of the previous 2 qualifiers, and they haven't really had any good placements together, but they could work at it. It is an option. We could also see Savage playing with a fraggier Polish player. Dinas is now on the market, having split with Seti, and Franek is an option too. It's tough to know what's going to happen. Based on his tweet, it seems like he doesn't want to play with Mixon anymore. He is going to be looking for a new option. It will be a fragger. I do feel like someone like a Dinas, someone like a Franek, an untested player, someone outside of his immediate circle could really work for him. In terms of other news, we now know that Werex is looking for a duo. I kind of thought he'd just get back together with Nosif after Akira and Karama got back together. Obviously, Karama went off to play with Werex, which left Nosif without a duo, and he went off to play with Lixium. But whilst Akira and Karama did reunite, the same can't be said for Werex and Nosif. It seems like Nosif is happy playing with Lixium, so Werex is the spare man, but I'm sure he'll be able to find an option. And finally, in terms of organisation news, we have Wox re-signing to Havoc. Congrats to him. Please subscribe to the channel so you stay up to date with European Fortnite. I made an excellent video yesterday on the Divisional Cup, so go back and watch that if you haven't already. If you want to support me any further, then using code SPUDZON in the Fortnite item shop is a great way to do that. Thanks for watching, see you in the next one.